I would like you to comment on those two issues.
I appreciate the question. It gives me an opportunity to talk about a conservative position on a specific issue and then a more general issue. First of all, on the embassy in Israel, I have been very clear that a conservative government would recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. That is...
Canada has a long-standing policy on the Mideast that we need to work towards a two-state solution through direct negotiations. That's why we will continue to engage constructively and substantively in the region and with partners and friends around the world. But as we've said, we will not be moving Canada's embassy from Tel Aviv.
One fact in the recent violent confrontations along the Israel-Gaza border is undeniable. The riots that led to those tragic deaths were deliberately orchestrated by the terrorist group Hamas. Unfortunately, the Prime Minister's statement last week ignored Hamas's involvement and instead blamed Israel, the most democratic, pluralistic nation in the region. Will the Prime Minister apologize for his poorly worded statement and finally join me in condemning Hamas for the role they played and explain his silence yesterday?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, last week I spoke directly with Prime Minister Netanyahu and explained to him that regardless of which country was involved, any time a foreign military sniper shoots a Canadian citizen, a Canadian civilian, we will have questions about that. We will stand up and express how concerned we are and ask to know exactly what happened. A Canadian doctor was shot by an Israeli sniper. This is something that we have to actually push back on and ask how that happened.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
How about pushing back on the fact that this entire incident was orchestrated by a terrorist group, Hamas? This is shameful, Mr. Speaker. Here we are a week later, after the world has seen Hamas putting innocent civilians in harm's way just to achieve this very type of tragic incident. And this Prime Minister continues to place the blame unilaterally on Israel, a country that goes out of its way to minimize civilian casualties.
Inexcusable. That's the word the Prime Minister is using to describe the actions of Israeli forces in Gaza this week. In this statement, he calls them out for opening fire on protesters and injuring a doctor from London, Ontario. The statement continues to read in part, "We are appalled that Dr. Tarek Loubani, a Canadian citizen, is among the wounded, along with so many unarmed people, including civilians, members of the media, first responders, and children." Canada calls for an immediate independent investigation to thoroughly examine the facts on the ground, including any incitement, violence, and the excessive use of force. Strong words from the Prime Minister, who until now stayed out of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Ottawa says it also plans to do everything in its power to assist Loubani and his family while getting to the bottom of why he was injured in the first place. The doctor from southwestern Ontario was reportedly shot in the leg while tending to injured protesters Monday and works at the London Health Sciences Centre when he's not abroad. He was apparently wearing bright green clothing similar to what you're seeing here, clearly identifying him as a medic. Another 18 professionals reported getting shot in the crossfire on one of Gaza's deadliest days since 2014. Loubani has told media sources it's hard to believe he wasn't targeted because he was shot during a lull in the activity on the ground.
I have been very clear that a conservative government would recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. That is...